Hello, my lovely Misfitians. This week is gonna be a little bit different of a video. As I'm sure you've already noticed from the thumbnail title, there are some weeks when I just don't want to watercolor, and this has been one of those weeks. The weather outside has been just super dreary. There hasn't been a lot of light. And usually during these weeks, I just feel really depressed and I kind of get that cabin fever vibe. And to be honest, I just really get bored of doing watercolors sometimes. I've been doing this for 4 years on YouTube every single week pretty much, doing a new illustration of some sort. And sometimes it's just exhausting. Now, I'm not complaining at all. I absolutely love my job, but sometimes there are just those times when you don't want to be creative. You're just drained and you're tired. So, I'm going to be sharing with you some ways that I kind of force myself into a creative mind space. So the very first thing that I usually do when I hit this kind of weird jive is I put down the brushes, I put away the paints, and I actually step away from watercolor. Usually if you're feeling this, you need to just take a step back and rethink what's going on in your brain. For me, I've just been doing a lot of watercolor stuff and it's kind of just been the same old, same old. And so I knew I needed to switch things up and change things around. And the best way to come up with new ideas to kind of switch stuff up is to actually go to a craft store. That is the best thing for me. And basically this week what I did is I went to Hobby Lobby and I set aside time to go to Michael's and I just browsed the aisles. And the challenge was I was not going to go and look at anything in the paint or watercolor section. I actually was going to look in the holiday section and look in like the paper craft section and see if I could find something that inspired me to get back into watercolor. And what I found were these cute little stickers that were actually in the paper section of Hobby Lobby. And I just immediately thought of Teddy with these glasses on. It reminded me of like a Harry Potter kind of vibe. And then I started jiving and thinking, this would be so cute with a scarf, but instead of doing maybe the traditional Harry Potter colors, maybe I should do these colorful rainbow colors, especially since it's nice and cold outside. Teddy would need a nice warm sweater. So that was the first kind of little glimpse of inspiration, and I immediately got this itching of, ooh, I want to create this. But I wanted to push myself a little bit further. So I continued to meander around the aisles and eventually I found this really nice pom-pom ribbon as well as some mini pom-poms, and I started thinking, how could I add this to a painting and just spruce it up in a very creative and different way? And that's when it hit me. Most scarves have little pom-poms on the end of them, especially this season. I've noticed they're very trendy. So then I started thinking, how could I add these to my illustration and really make it creative and different? So what I did is I actually took white pom-poms. I bought the white, just plain version of them, and I basically did this because they didn't have the colors that I actually wanted. They were either really, really bright or very monotone, kind of dreary, muddy looking colors. And I kind of wanted something in the middle. So I was thinking, what if I took these and actually dipped them in my watercolor paints, the ones that I was mixing, and actually used the watercolor to dye the white pom-poms, and that way the pom-poms would actually match my illustration. So that is what I did, and then I used some glue to go ahead and adhere these to my painting, and that is kind of how I re-sparked my creativity for watercolor this week. Now, sometimes I just take a complete step back from watercolor and I don't do anything, but this particular week I felt when I went to the craft store, I felt really inspired to actually paint something in a very crafty way. So that has been kind of my crafting adventures of looking at watercolor in a very different realm. Also, I'm curious, when you kind of get bored of watercolor and you want to restart that spark of creativity, what do you do to get yourself back into the groove of creating again? I would love to hear your comments down below. I always love reading other people's feedback for how they restart their creativity and also their thoughts on just art in general. We can always learn from one another, and that is one reason why I absolutely love this community. So please leave your comments down below. I would love to read your feedback. Hopefully this gives you some ideas. I think this would be really great for like little greeting cards or maybe even cute little Christmas illustrations as gifts for the future. Christmas is just around the corner and I'm super excited about it. I cannot wait. So once again, hopefully this gives you some inspiration for the future and maybe gets you in the mood to think creatively and outside the box. I really enjoy doing this project and stretching my mind into thinking in different ways, and the best way that I've found for doing that is usually going into a craft store and just trying to find something that is completely random and add that to my illustration. So that is it for this video, and I hope all of you are having a wonderful week. Lots of love, y'all, and I will see you in the next one.